Hey guys, Coach Yannick here. Been a while since I made a video. Siri asked me just to make a video, kind of highlight or remind you of some of the things we've been working on with the swing and why we're doing it. Ultimately, it's just in-game performance, having the ability to adjust to different pitches, having the bat in the zone longer, that kind of thing. And then I'll just show you some other benefits too of some of the stuff we've been doing in terms of balance, being in the center, connection, and all that kind of thing. And then a couple quick shout outs. I haven't done an attaboy in a while, and this might be one of the last videos before we head into the season, so I'll give a couple shout outs as well here. So first thing, I'm just going to talk about um, why we've been kind of learning to swing connected from the center, and ultimately what that's going to help us do in a game. Because in a game, it's all about adjustments. You don't really have to make adjustments in the cages. Obviously, live at bats you do, but off the pitching machine, the ball's more or less same speed, same location. Soft toss, tee, etc. It's not a game of adjustments. You don't need to. You're not going to get fooled and then have a pitch you thought was maybe down the middle, break low and away, and then have to adjust to that, or be thinking fastball and have to adjust to off speed and that kind of thing. So I just want to emphasize, you might think, well, I'm hitting the ball really well in the cage or practice. I don't know why I need to make any sort of changes. Well, that stops working in a game, again, because things just aren't static like they are necessarily when we're doing things at the warehouse, or repetitive or the same. It's a game of adjustments, and you got to be able to make them. So, anyways, I'll highlight the first point, which is one of the main goals of swinging the bat properly is to have your barrel enter and exit the zone in as big of an area as possible. So your largest margin for error. So I'm just going to highlight. This is Mika here, one of his earlier swings on the right, where he's using drag as his power mechanism, and we should all know what that means by now. His elbows out front. He's using the spin of his body to create power and leverage, and then he's using his top hand arm, or the hand that's closest to the barrel, to steer the bat. All right, so I'm just going to highlight here. We all know what drag looks like because that's what this swing is. But I'm just going to highlight when his barrel sort of enters the zone here and when it exits the zone. So that's probably right there where he might be able to, if he's late, hit that pitch at the third baseman. Okay. And then here the bat flips through the zone. And right here, I'm going to say right about there, he can hit that pitch if he's early at the first baseman. All right. So ultimately, his zone is probably that long. And then if we go to the left here, where he's been working all winter to really improve this move, you'll see some significant differences, obviously. I mean, he's connected, he's turning together. But I'll highlight a few things there in a bit, but I'm focusing here on barrel entry. I'm going to say this is in a slow-mo video, so it's probably somewhere around here. He would hit a ball at the third baseman if he was really late. And all the way out to here, he can probably pull that ball down the first baseline. Okay, so he's significantly increased the size of his zone. So he's increased his margin for error. I'd say he's probably doubled it, to be perfectly honest. Never mind that on the left he's connected, he's on the ball. He can drive that pitch sort of gap to gap, and line to line, or versus on the right, he's probably, especially here on the right, um, how the bat's traveling and flipping, that's going to be either a ground ball, a weak ground ball, or a pop up um, the other way. Versus on the left here, you can see if that pitch is where that bat is right there and he's early, he's still going to drive that ball with power. Okay, so um, that's ultimately why we're doing this. Now he's doubled his margin for error. He's doubled his the time that his barrel's in the zone, and that's huge in a game. That's absolutely huge because you're never going to be or I shouldn't say you're never going to be, but it's going to be hard to be on time, perfectly on time for every pitch. So you increase your margins for error. Ultimately, that's the difference between completely missing a ball and maybe fouling a ball off, because this is barrel in the zone for fair balls, but I would argue his barrel's entering the zone probably back here where he can be extremely late and still get a piece of a pitch and foul it off, right? All the way out to here where he can be extremely early and still pull side foul a ball. So he's created a pretty significant improvement in his margin for error in a game. And the other thing I want to talk about is adjustability now. Okay, so I'll back both of these up. So when you're using drag as your primary source of power and your top hand arm as the steering mechanism for the bat, you've lost essentially all adjustability. You know, once you're here, you can't take the bat anywhere else other than, I would say, this box right here. Okay, so if he was beat, say, by an off-speed pitch that was diving low and away and he'd started to swing, he can't, because he's using drag in his body to spin, and the bat is way behind him, and it's kind of stuck here behind his body. He cannot get that bat to a ball down here right now. Okay, he can hit a ball in that square, so he better have guessed right in terms of where the pitch was going to be, speed and location wise, because he's lost all ability to adjust to that pitch because he's using his top hand to steer and his body for power. Versus on the left, right now we're using connection, we're using the bottom hand arm to steer, right? We're using the bottom hand arm pulling the knob to where we want the bat to go, which is typically where the ball is, right? And we're using, to get fancy here, we're using this, oops, we're using this arm to steer, and this arm is providing power, and everything is turning in unison and together. So if you got fooled here, this is doing the steering of the bat now. It's not his body flipping the bat around. It's his hands and his arms, everything moving together. So if the pitch ended up totally fooling him and, you know, being, say, down here, he would have recognized that a little bit sooner, but back here, he can now take this hand and the knob down in this direction and get that pitch. If he's fooled by a fastball up and in, when he's expecting something, you know, maybe soft and away, well, he can pull the knob of the bat up this way and get to that pitch. All right. And another important thing is when you're connected like this, right, you're on the baseball. Okay. Huge for contact, obviously, and adjustability. So here Mika is on the ball, his chest is on the ball, his hips are on the ball, his knee is on the ball. Everything is in the zone, and he can adjust to whatever he ends up seeing. All right, he hasn't dumped his power and dumped all his leverage, and he's just hoping that the ball hits his bat essentially. Because here on the right, get rid of some of these lines. Here on the right, at that same point, all right, his body's flown open, it's pointing at the pitcher, his hips have flown open, his knee is open, everything pointing back out at the pitcher now, but his bat's behind his body, so everything's completely disconnected. He's actually doing a decent job of keeping his head on the ball here, but you can see the lines are crossing. So he's disjointed, he's not connected. He's struggling there to keep his head on the ball just because his body is flown open because he's using that as his power source, his leverage. Anyways, long story short, I would argue that from these two positions, Mika can now hit a ball from in a square, in a square probably that size, and on the right, from here, in the same position, I'd argue his contact point and where he can hit a ball is probably in a square that size. So his bat's in the zone twice as long, being connected, and with that disconnect drag move, his bat's in the zone half as long. So he's doubled the time his bat's in the zone. But more importantly, or just as important, I guess, the adjustability on the left has quadrupled the size of the zone or the size of the area that he can actually hit a pitch. Okay, so his margin for error has gone up massively, and this is where you're going to see this play itself out in games. Okay, live ABs, games. That's where this is really going to become evident. Okay, so for some of you that haven't quite figured this out yet, you're gonna. I hope you think, oh yeah, okay, I am struggling now in a game to make adjustments and hit balls, and the likely cause is this. And for some of you guys that have kind of started to go down this connection path and do a lot of this work, I think the results are going to be there, especially in a game. So again, the point to emphasize here, adjustability and increasing your margin for error in a game. And it will, you, I guess, have to trust me on this, that because we've only been doing cage time really, that the two aren't super transferable in terms of your success. Because again, in a cage, everything's pretty controlled, everything's very much the same. There's not a lot of adjustment required, whereas in a game, that's obviously completely different. So that's what I just wanted to highlight, and I'll highlight a couple points here as well. The benefits of that move, and without working on this stuff. So like with Mika, without even working on, say, his balance, his staying on the ball, his staying through the ball, etc. Just being connected from the top has fixed all of those things. Without even having to work on all of the other things. It's like cause and effect. So, anyways, if you see Mika swing here, well, really bad rollover. All right, really bad rollover here, and then you'll see his bat exits low through his shoulder, and then you'll even see him almost fall backwards here. See, he's out of balance. He's falling backwards. All right, and here you can see at impact, everything's flown open. Now his chest is almost pointing at the first baseman, right? Everything is pointing this way. His head's pointing this way. So nothing's working together. All right, and on the left, nice and connected. All right. See here, like I said, everything's in the zone. He's nice and connected here. And what's really nice to see is through the ball, right? He's through the ball. Through, like, that's very, very nice. And then perfectly centered. Oops. Perfectly centered. Perfectly balanced on both feet. All right, so that's a thing of beauty. That's what he's been working on all winter. And these are all kind of byproducts of swinging the bat properly. Obviously, we don't want to be falling in the batter's box in a game. So all of these things have benefit, or I should say swinging connected has all these other benefits, right? And I'm just going to highlight a few quick attaboys here. I'm going to go with Dan Hoff first. Whoops. So I'm not going to belabor all those other points I made. Just show a couple of obviously significant improvements. All right, drag. And you can see here at the end, he is almost falling forward. But, I mean, look at his feet. This is the start of the year. I mean, this foot hasn't, the laces are supposed to kind of point at the pitcher. It looks like he's almost breaking his ankle. This foot's pointing almost at the third baseman. And you can clearly tell he's not balanced, okay? So I know Dan's been working hard, especially on that connection stuff. You can see here one of his more recent swings. All right, so we've got nice connection. I mean, look at this, on the ball, like absolutely on the ball, right? And we didn't work on being on the ball. That just happened, okay? Into impact, right in the center. Didn't work on that either. Nicely through the ball. Didn't work on that either. And what a difference, right? Look at him on the left here versus on the right. Okay, so he's perfectly balanced between his feet. He's perfectly in the center. All right, he swung connected, got through the ball, and it's nice and balanced. All we did really work, or all Dan really worked on, was kind of that being connected from the top. You know, not using his body as leverage, etc. All right, so good job, Dan. Keep it up. Marcus is next. So Marcus has a little bit of drag, but one of his main things was getting to a better launch position. So he's definitely cleaned that up. I won't even talk about that or talk about launch position. You guys know what that is, but that was his launch position early in the season on the left. All right. And then one of the nice things he's done is get himself a lot better balance. So you can see here he's falling forward, right, in his swing. So he's kind of lunging at the ball and falling forward, like his center point is back here. So he's got his whole upper half ahead of his center, and he had a little bit of drag in his swing. So I know Mark's been working hard at home with his dad, kind of get more connected, and you can just see. I mean, that's a nice connected move to the ball, right? Got that going on. I mean, he is absolutely on the ball. Everything's on the ball working together there, and just really nicely getting through it. Right, and a nice balanced finish. Okay, so he's right between his feet. He's got weight in that heel. He's got weight on his toes, so he's perfectly in the center. Versus here, his foot is pointing literally at the pitcher. This ankle is rolled over this way, so everything is kind of spun around, and he's got himself kind of unbalanced. So great work, Marcus. Keep it up. Um, and I'm going to bring up now Dan P. Also good work from Dan. So his old swing here, or one of his earlier swings on the left. So, you know, really far back. I mean, I think this is kind of the stay back thing you probably heard his whole life. And then lots of drag there. Still way back. And then the flip and barrel exits through the shoulder. Way back. So he never got himself into the center, right? Way back using drag. So, and that's off a tee, and this swing here is off the pitching machine. So, you know, margin for error massively increased, but still you'll see here, you know, gets himself much more to the center, pretty much right in it actually. I mean, look at this move. Boom, connected, hands out in front of his chest. Super good. All right. And you can see here again on the ball. Everything is working together, right? He's in the zone, he's on the ball. He's connected. He's balanced. Hits it out front. That's getting through the ball there. Okay? On a strong front side, right? Front side strong. Hitting behind that front side, not over top of it. And then nice high finish, right? compared to what was going on the left. And what's really nice to see too is right in the center. Weight in the heel, weight in the toe, perfectly balanced position versus where he was getting himself on the left there. Flat-footed here, ankles rolled way over, right, and he's kind of back, so he's not balanced. He's centers here, and he's kind of falling backwards a little bit. So again, guys, and sorry if I didn't get to you. I I don't have videos of everyone or whatever. And I don't want to make this too long, but great work, Marcus. Great work, Dan. Great work, Dan P, Dan H, and Mika as well. It's paying off, and it's more importantly, it's going to pay off in games. Okay, and the moral of the story here is you get what you put in, and the sort of main reason for the video again was highlighting the benefits of swinging properly, and that's in-game adjustments and in-game margin for error. So in a game, again, we want to increase that margin for error as much as we can, especially when we're facing tough pitchers, because they're going to be, throwing fastballs off speed. They're going to be moving the ball around the zone, and it's just a game of adjustments. And if you can't make those adjustments, you're going to struggle. So if anyone hasn't really started picking up on this, maybe it's not too late. We still got lots of season left. All right, we want to kind of be peaking at YSBAs, so there's lots of time left. So again, if you want to work on this, pull me aside, ask me. If you want to keep working on it, I'll be there, and we'll keep working on this stuff and keep getting better. All right, guys, thanks.